It's been 30 years since the Democratic Convention riots of 1968 pitted police and protesters against each other. But some fear history will repeat itself this week in Seattle as the World Trade Organization prepares to hold its first ever meeting on U.S. soil.
Tonight we're hosting the Los Angeles premiere of Stuart Townsend's Battle in Seattle. It's an important movie, it's star-studded, and we're all going to be doing a Q&A afterwards following the screening.
This is a call to other filmmakers. Stuart went out and said, wait a second, I'm an actor, but I've discovered something and I'd like to say something about it. Well, you know, that's what so many of the people who have their powers should be doing.
Couldn't have done it without Don Julio, for sure. It's called Battle in Seattle. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you all for coming.
We believe that all the protesters will be concentrated there.
How many protesters are we expecting?
Several thousand.
It's taken 2 years to bring the World Trade Organization to Seattle, and we did it!
Each of the affinity groups are going to shut these areas down. Now, how are we going to do it?
Non-violent.
That's right.
It's your first foray into writing and directing a film. Why is this the story that you wanted to tell?
I guess it kind of starts from just in the late 90s, starting to meet people who were telling me about the oceans and the forests and what was going on. I was pretty apolitical at the time, and then eventually sort of linking that to globalization. I started reading a book, sort of like An Idiot's Guide to Globalization, and as I read it, I really felt that globalization as an issue touched upon so many important issues.
It's really incredible when you know somebody and then they kind of tackle something that you didn't know them when they did that, and the way he tackled it just kind of felt so like it was meant to be, really effortless.
I moved here September 10th, 2001. I arrived in LA to live an American life, so that's part of it too. In response there was no dissent in this country, the media went to war, and I was an Irishman looking at this going, where's the democracy that George Bush is talking about all the time, constantly? And this was an event that was really about democracy, and it was also about the limits of that once you're successful and once you, as a mass movement, you're on the streets and you're shutting something down. You know, those freedom of speech rights, how relative they are, in a sense, because everyone's told that there's freedom and democracy, but this is a clear moment where those rights really got taken away.
We're moving now.
The protesters have seized the intersections outside.
Nobody in! Nobody out!
You bring in the National Guard, the whole community is going to become alarmed.
There was already 3 documentaries made, and I don't think anyone saw them. I thought, obviously a documentary, you know, it's easier to do in one sense because it's about the facts. But I wanted something not as intellectual. I wanted to do something that would maybe connect on a more emotional level for an audience, and that's why I created the characters I did.
You do use some documentary elements, real footage. How did you go about incorporating those into the film? Was it written, or did you, after it was shot, you looked for the footage?
It was a bit of both. Sometimes there was anarchist montage in the script, so I'd go through all the anarchist footage, and I'd find certain outs, like he sprays the camera, and I liked using a lot of the ins and outs are actually where the subject in the real life, suddenly looks at the camera or engages with the camera. I liked that the camera was sort of participating in moments.
Clearly, when we watch the movie, the energy of being there is so evident. Was it there on set?
He got real protesters to come and fill the streets, which was incredible because that kind of energy is just, it was there, you know, it felt very, very authentic. This is independent filmmaking. He was like, all right, so it's going to be really smoky, and well, if it's not smoky, just act like it's smoky, and we're going to just try and make it smoky, and we're going to try and get these guys to come through. He didn't really rehearse that much on set. He really kind of let things happen, and I just remember this image of these people just running with full force towards me.
The battle in Seattle turns into a war. What's going on out there?
Battle in Seattle?
It was like a military operation. Our first AD was actually a military guy. So we had a lot of real protesters rehearsing with background a lot of the time while I would rehearse with the lead actors. And they really, I mean, for intersection takeovers, they showed them how to do it. It was just pretty amazing how quick things moved. And when you say action, and people start to riot, and there's smoke, and there's cops and a stormtrooper outfits, it's kind of amazing how people get into it.
You know, I think a good director is just somebody who really does something that is quite magical and effortless. There was no stress on the set. There was this environment that was just really creative, and all of us got to really explore and do things that you dream of when you take a role on, and Stuart really kind of gave us that environment to do that in.
Film is collaboration. It wasn't just me, it was hundreds of people making a film.
Americans will recognize this kind of films. They would like to have more and more films like that, to explain something about our life and our position in the world, our problems in America, political problems, economic problems.
I'll definitely tell all my friends. I mean, I think it's really like, you know, a phenomenal message.
I definitely want to find out more.
My first Gen Hour event, well, it was great. I was really into it. We're really into films that have a purpose to them.
It's about people coming together and standing up against oppression and trying to make a difference. And in this case, in 1999, they won. They triumphed.